Hi, I'm Austin.
And I'm Raven. Okay, and today we'll be discussing
Interaction.
with Europe throughout the world. So you may be wondering why interaction of Europe in the world is important, but here's some overarching questions that need to be answered. Why have Europeans sought contact and interaction with other parts of the world, and what political, technological, and intellectual developments enabled European contact and interaction with other parts of the world? Austin, what questions do you have to be answered?
How have encounters between Europe and the world shaped European culture, politics, and society? And what impact has contact with Europe had on non-Europe societies?
Interesting. Here's my colleague Austin. I have to ask him a question. So, what do you think drove European nations to try to interact with other parts of the world?
Money.
Huh.
Come on, Austin, you gotta do better than that. What else could have driven European nations?
European nations were driven by religious and commercial motives.
So we said that European nations were driven by both commercial and religious motives, but what exactly did they want? Anybody know?
They wanted to explore overseas territories and establish colonies because they wanted direct access to materials to enhance their own personal wealth and power.
Now, some of you may ask,
What do you mean religious motives?
duh, Austin, Christianity was a stimulus for exploration. You gotta do better, man.
Christianity helped as government and religious authorities wanted to spread the faith and stop or counter Islam.
Why do they want to do that, Austin?
So Christianity could be the dominant religion.
Oh!
So here's a brief example or illustration of what happened back in the day.
Come now, you're coming with me.
Why?
Christianity, duh.
So in the brief skit you just witnessed, you would have seen the African male squatting near a sign that said Africa, and in parentheses it said home. Here you can see another picture, just in case you missed it.
Now let's be real. Can you imagine someone walking into your house and saying, "Come on, you're leaving with me"? I didn't think so.
Now here's the rest of the skit. Hope you enjoy.
How do you like your new home, slave?
Good. Very good.
What religion do you practice?
Christianity. Interaction with Europe and the world affected many cultures.
France and also other things like the Columbian Exchange.
So of course if we're going to talk about the Columbian Exchange, we have to give you a skit. However, just beware, this skit did occur during this time, so it may not make sense to you, but to the Americas and Europe, it did make sense.
Hi, I'm the Americas. I'm giving Europe this fruit. Witness the actual Columbian Exchange in action.
Thank you, America. This is Europe, and we love our tomatoes.
And folks, now I have a brain break, so whoever can name 5 things that the Americas sent to Europe, Africa, and Asia gets candy from Miss McFadden. If she agrees, of course.
What else was going on that has to do with interaction?
European states continue to follow mercantilistic policies where they explored colonies in the New World and other places. And look what we have here, an explorer on the loose.
Look, we can make money. Also, the transatlantic slave labor system expanded in the 17th and 18th century as demand for New World products increased. This shows that interaction between Europe and the New World grew stronger. Things such as the Middle Passage Triangle trade and plantation economies in the Americas. Overseas products and influences contributed to the development of a consumer culture in Europe. This included sugar, tea, silk, tobacco, rum, and coffee. The importation and transplantation of agricultural produce from the Americas contributed to an increase in the food supply in Europe.
So foreign lands provided raw materials and finished goods, laborers, and markets for the commercial and industrial enterprises.
Oh look, it's the Henry Stanley. Leopold hired him to explore the Congo. I wonder what he's gonna find.
So as European nations conquered different indigenous peoples, they saw the difference between them and the European male. For example, look at this little native boy. He's worthless. Look at his skin. It's too dark.
Now, you may ask, why did Europeans think like this? Like, what caused them to have this crazy idea that they're the superior race and that natives were just nothing?
When Europeans first reached Africa and Asia and saw the way that the natives were living, they were astonished. They based these differences in science and claimed that these people were genetically less than them. This justified the Europeans' actions and helped them overlook the violence and damage they were doing to these people and their cultures.
Now, class and Miss McFadden, I know you're wondering, well, Miss McFadden is wondering why we haven't covered any wars yet and interaction throughout the world with Europe. And I know Nikhil's wondering, when can I go to sleep? But we're getting there. Austin and I decided we're going to cover World War I and interaction with Europe throughout the world.
An obvious continuity that can be seen through the European history are the variety of motives that lead to the intensification of European global control.
So I think it's safe to say that European nations were almost like fiends for raw materials and markets for manufactured goods. Like, first it was the Americas, and now, before World War I, they're turning the focus to Africa and Asia. Crazy. Now you may wonder, if Europe started with colonization and switched to imperialism, what's the difference? Because Great Britain lost their land in the Americas by the colonies defeating them, and France lost their land way before that. So, what is Europe doing? Now, the Second Industrial Revolution occurred, which facilitated European control of global empires, which is also known as imperialism and the MAIN causes of World War I, right? So the development of advanced weaponry invariably ensured the military superiority of Europeans over colonized areas. In addition, communication and transportation technologies allowed for the creation of European empires.
Advancement throughout Europe were continuing to take place. For example, advancement in medicine supported European control of Africa and Asia by preserving lives. During the scramble for Africa, the development of quinine, an effective treatment for malaria, enabled vast expanses of the tropics to be penetrated. But back to World War I.
So we all know the causes of World War I were main militarism, alliances, imperialism, and nationalism. However, this European interaction also caused
America to gain a greater role in the world order and also led to the colonies having a greater voice. One effect that World War I had in America was that it brought improvements in women's rights. During the war, they were working in the factories while the men were away, and after the war ended, they wanted to continue this trend, and it led to improvements. On the other hand, one impact that America had on Europe was Woodrow Wilson's 14 Points Plan. This helped create the socio-economic conditions that lead to World War II. An immediate effect of World War I on Asia was the Anglo-Japanese alliance. Japan wanted to be close to Western countries and proposed a racial equality clause to be able to join the League of Nations, but it was denied. This helped lead them to stray from the West and develop nationalistic policies. Imperialism was also affected by World War I. During the war, the subjects had been expected to fight for their mother country, and so naturally, after the war, they wanted more freedoms in return. This was a factor in the growing independence movements that spread throughout Europe's colonial empire. In this way, a small conflict in Europe ended up with the entire world involved. World War I most definitely transformed the entire world order and shaped the rest of the 20th century.